What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got for you a poorly spec'd PC build, and you might be thinking that's an interesting way to start an intro, and you'd be right. But what we're after today specifically is testing out Battlefield 6 minimum spec requirements. So I've got parts in front of me here that I'm going to put into a PC, kind of a thrown together build really, and then test out, is it going to be actually viable to play Battlefield 6 at minimum spec requirements? Let's go. Alrighty, so now that we have the agenda set for the video, let's get the camera a little closer here and talk about the individual parts that's going into this build. Again, it's going to be tailored towards the Battlefield minimum spec requirements. I've obviously chosen specific parts for this build, so let's get the camera close and talk about what I got out here in front of me. Alright, so let's talk about the first part here, and that being the CPU, and this one's definitely going to be one of the more important parts of the build. This is an i5-8400, so this is 6 cores total, no hyper-threading, released from about almost a decade ago, I think about 8 years ago. 7 total generations of Intel CPUs have been released since this guy, so quite a bit old in terms of modern stuff today. I think Battlefield 6 is definitely going to stretch its limits. And I had to buy this on the used market because there's no real availability of the CPU anymore. I've got it on eBay, so I mean, it is what it is. So $57 for the CPU. And speaking of the used market, I had to buy this motherboard from the used market as well because, again, the age of the hardware here. So this is a B360 motherboard. This is a gigabyte board, so this is actually a DS3H board, but I got this one for $58. Just didn't want to spend a ton of money to get a system up and running, and Battlefield 6 requirements don't really call out a specific type of motherboard, so I'm going based on keeping them to their word. You know, if I don't have to specifically go find a motherboard that supports certain features, hint hint, rebar, hint hint. Anyway, this board's really basic, not even built-in Wi-Fi. Don't need that. This is just for, you know, a test build anyway, to basically just get an up and running system. Next part here, we've got memory, and this is just something I have laying around in the studio. So this is just a 16 gig kit of 3200 mega transfers from Team Group, the T-Force brand memory. So I'm just throwing it in the build because I had it and didn't want to spend any extra money. Speaking of not spending any extra money, a lot of these parts are stuff I had laying around. So they might be a little bit weird in terms of what I'm choosing to use, but again, I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on kind of a YOLO build. So next major thing here that's right in front of us is the graphics card. Another thing I didn't spend money on, luckily, and this is relatively new comparable to the other hardware, the Intel Arc A380. This is the minimum spec GPU that they call out on the site. I had a buddy of mine actually loan this to me, so this is going to go back to him, but I called out in my short video that I did a little while back that I think this would probably be the worst card to stack with trying to play with Battlefield 6. And I have a feeling we'll probably be proven right. But the thing that's going to be interesting, as I mentioned earlier with the motherboard, is Battlefield 6 does not call out a specific requirement to use resizable bar. We know with these Intel Arc cards, that is kind of a big factor for actually performing well. So I think they are missing the mark by saying this is a GPU that should be on the minimum spec list, but they're not saying, hey, you need to also make sure that you're enabling R-bar, which we're not going to be able to do because we have a very cheap motherboard. That's why I kind of specifically went that route, because I want to see how bad it really is without the resizable bar, and the fact that they don't mention it being a specific requirement. Other things here too, like I said, is just things I had lying around the studio. So we need some fans. I have billions of fans. We're not going for any particular design aesthetic, but these are actually the fans that came out of my server build I did recently in my last video, and these are the better ones that have at least PWM control. Now I'm looking at the motherboard. I might have to do some adapters because, yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to plug in all these in the motherboard, but we got some fans. I'll make the fan situation work. I want the system to not be choked off due to poor decisions, so still trying to make sure that it runs nice and cool. Speaking of running nice and cool, a CPU cooler that I've not opened but had in studio for a while. It's really the only thing I got to actually cool the setup, so we're going to use this Be Quiet Pure Rock 3. So this should be one heck of a cooler. It says it cools 190 watts. Obviously the i5 is not going to produce that type of heat, so we are completely fine. Last thing here too is another used part, and I don't suggest going used on power supplies ever, but it's something I had in studio from a system. This is a EVGA BT 450 watt power supply. Kind of low on the power, but however, should be plenty fine because this total system should only really probably consume, like, even at full load, like under 300 watts. So we'll be in pretty good hands with with what we got. I have a few cases lying around the studio that I either one, need to get rid of, or two, need to put builds into. So I've got this case that I bought secondhand. We'll kind of zoom the camera back out a little here. There we go. So this case I bought secondhand. It's kind of I think a knockoff case. I don't even know what brand it is, so I'm gonna try to figure that out. If I do happen to figure that out, I'll put that on the screen. If not, well, then we're just gonna keep going as is. So, oh, it says right here, it's a Game Max. I didn't see it. It's very kind of reflective. I think there's still, yeah, there's still a Peely sticker on there. It's just a case. I've had it and it's not used at all, brand new. I got secondhand from someone for like 40 bucks a long time ago. So really wasn't a lot of money invested into this build in general for all the parts, but that's kind of the idea. I didn't want to spend a ton of money and just get the minimum spec tested. So yeah. So without further ado, I think it's goes without saying that we got to get this PC built up. Should go pretty quick. It's very easy, basic PC build. And then we'll get to testing Battlefield 6 to see if these components here on the table actually are going to be somewhat viable to playing the game at some type of hopefully decent experience. I'm really hopeful when I say that. So we'll find out. Alrighty, well, let's do the first step here being, let's get a CPU installed here. Now I have actually tested this combo because I did buy it secondhand, so we're just reinstalling everything for the sake of the video. There we go, CPU is installed. Next, let's go ahead and throw in the RAM. We're gonna open up slot 2, slot 4, like with any build. Get this RAM in the proper slots. All right, there's one. Something I just realized that I did not mention anything about storage, which I meant to get out, and we're just gonna go with an NVMe drive, a simple, super basic one that I have. So let me go grab that and we'll get that on the board. All right, here we are, a 240 gig SSD. I definitely do not recommend going this small on a normal build, but again, this is just a YOLO test build, so it's going into this build. Oh, I do have a screw on the board. Cool, I didn't realize I did, so that's good. All right, let's get this guy off. Again, this size of drive is not recommended, but this is for science build. Next step here is to get it actually in our case, so we'll position the camera for that. Let's just get this guy opened up properly. Oh, those are really on there. Okay, I gotta put it on a higher torque setting on my screwdriver. Sucker was on there. And there we go. So we've got side ventilation for the power supply. So this is actually a pretty decent little case, it looks like. And then we'll get our accessories out because we need some screws to screw down the motherboard to the chassis. All right, I did get slightly ahead of myself. We still got to attach the CPU cooler, so I'm going to work on getting that done. Just going to orient this in the proper way and just set it on down. Get it lined up with the studs that are sticking out. Get this started. A little bit on this side. All right, yeah, that'll be fun. We'll just go like this. One side clipped on, and this side. Just kind of pull it and it grabs the fins. We're good to go. Just line everything up. All right, we are done. Motherboard is installed. So there we go. All right, so PC's mostly assembled. We've got just a few extra things to put in. So we got some fans, the GPU, of course, and the power supply. But before I do that, I want to get the IO, front IO stuff plugged in. But this is tough to capture in camera, and yeah, and it's kind of boring. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll cut back to getting likely the power supply or GPU installed and ready to go. Hopefully I did it all right. We'll find out later though. Okay, all that IO stuff is plugged in. Okay, so GPU, as we talked about earlier, this is the basically, I think, the worst possible performing GPU you could actually get for the minimum specs of Battlefield 6, the Intel Arc A380. Like I said, a buddy of mine loaned it to me, so I'm gonna take special care here with everything. And we'll just get a quick glance at it. He was using it just as a video output encoding GPU, which I think is a perfect use case for these types of cards. But as you can see, I mean, it's not a bad looking card. It's got actually 4 outputs, which is really cool to see. All display, okay, 1 HDMI. And yeah, so pretty basic. 6 GB card, and also very low powered card. So if you are building an extremely low powered system, this card is perfect for that. But again, has a dependency for a resizable bar. So anyway, pardon my head. I can't really see because of this big cooler. Make sure we're going in. Yep, we are in. All right, perfect. All right, next we're out back. Let's grab our power supply. Again, a power supply that I've personally had and used, so that's why I feel safe about using a used power supply. Don't ever do that for yourself. It's just not worth it. And just getting the screws off that I screwed into the back of it so I can get it into the case here. So let's do that real fast and we'll be nearly done. Perfect. And as you can see, I'm not giving much light of day to cable management because one, it's going to be a system that I probably end up tearing down pretty quick, and honestly, it hides pretty well as is already. So yeah, let's get those fans in. And I have to say it's looking pretty good. It's very kind of dark in there. There's nothing really lighting it up. So let's get a monitor and see if this thing will actually boot up. If it does, onto some Battlefield 6 testing. All right, power is on. Let's give it a shot. Hopefully I cabled up everything right. 3, 2, 1. All right, turned on. First good step. Looks like we're posting, maybe? Got power to the monitor. Let's take a look here. We still have no post. Oh, we did. Okay, I see like a line. Sometimes it does that. You gotta catch it before it boots up. Let's see if we can get this thing to go into BIOS. Probably have to restart it here. I tested this before, unless I broke something in the process, but I'm just gonna mash the delete key now that I got a keyboard up in front of me. There we go. Yeah, it's posted. I don't know if I saw that earlier. I think I was just trying to understand what was going on in the build itself. You guys might have seen that, but yeah, we're booted up. We've got everything here. So just need to get Windows on the machine and Battlefield 6, obviously. But yeah, the idea here is we've got the machine up and running. Again, I don't care about the RGB, so we've got a RGB fan spinning with no lights on, but nothing else has lights anyway. I don't care. This is just for function testing. So gonna cut for now, get Windows installed on the machine and Battlefield 6. So probably be a new day for me, just a few seconds for you guys. All right, let's get after it. Alrighty, we are loaded up with a new day and Battlefield 6 installed. Got the shaders installed. Got a little setup going here, and thought I'd do it kind of in a live raw format so you guys can see the PC running and the on-screen capture with some music here running with the game. So it's a little loud. I'll turn it down. All right, so we're in the accessibility menu here. Let's go to, okay, here's graphics. All right, so it looks like it auto-selected balanced. I'm gonna turn the music down a little bit. It's a little loud. We'll turn it up once we get rolling here. So balanced mode targets stable frame rate with a focus of higher visual fidelity. There are a few things I want to check on. So I'm gonna try to see if we can just go with, let's see, low, okay, graphics quality. Balanced, okay, so we're seeing where we're manipulating the VRAM that's going to be used. This ARC card only has 6 GB of VRAM. Medium's probably gonna push it too hard, so I wonder if I go back to auto. Okay, so we want auto balanced. We're looking at 5,000, 5.2 gigs, 5.3 gigs of the VRAM being used up. Let's see if that will work out for us. Well, we might have to make some adjustments because I don't know what's going to be playable. All right, so then let's scroll down here. The other things I want to probably just kind of leave as is. I don't know what's in these advanced settings here. Frame rate limiter, yeah, we'll turn that off. Max resolution scale, I typically just try to keep that at 100, so that's 100%. I think all this anti-aliasing, yeah, we'll turn this off if I can. That'll help save some cycles here. Oh, the game just froze up on me. Or it's doing something here. Okay, there we go. Had a little bit of a hiccup there. Okay, off. So choosing anti-aliasing, I like how it gives some disclaimers on what you're doing here. Okay, let's just go with the low anti-aliasing setting, TAA. Okay, that didn't really seem to make any difference for us. Now we have Intel XE or Z or frame generation. I'm not real familiar with the Intel cards, but enabling this generates a AI boost. So it's kind of like the frame generation for NVIDIA and FX cards. Right now, let's leave that off because sometimes that does make the game look kind of junky, and we can see if we actually will need it to actually help us out here. The upscaling, we can also modify as well with improving the visuals of the frame generation. So I think we're just going to leave everything to off for now on the advanced settings. Camera settings, I typically like to at least have field of view at 100. It's going to impact performance a little bit. All right, so here's main things here. Full screen mode, let's go with, I typically always try to benchmark in full screen mode, not windowed or anything like that, just the full raw game right there in front of us. Our resolution is already auto-detected. Our refresh rate of our monitor, this is just a 60 hertz basic Dell monitor. I chose this because we're not going to be obviously playing 1440p on this little art card here, so we'll just keep it as is. I'm going to turn off VSync so we can see what our true frame rate is. I think we're in a good spot to at least give it a try and see how it does. All right, keep changes. Yes. Okay. Again, we might have to come back and make some modifications. Also got up here our MSI Afterburner overlay, so I'm keeping an eye on. I do have the side panel open. It's more just so you guys can kind of see this. It's not probably going to affect the temperature of this machine in particular too much, just because it doesn't put out a whole lot of heat. Got a very low power draw card and CPU. We got that in check. We're monitoring that, so we got GPU at 66 degrees Celsius right now, just sitting in the menu, so that's pretty chill. But we're also keeping an eye on our utilizations, keeping an eye on to see if CPU is going to go through the roof. Things like that. And then obviously our frame rates. First item there is just the current frame rate. And then we've got the frame timer. So it's running at 20-ish milliseconds right now. And then I've got average, 1% low, and 0.1% low. So we'll see what we can get here. Now I just gotta figure out how to play. I'm probably gonna be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. But the idea here is to at least get you guys to be able to see how well this very minimum spec build will do. Okay, here we go, loading in. So that seemed to load in pretty well. I'm going to restart my benchmark numbers that are going to be going across the top left of the screen. So I just have a hotkey for that. Okay, here we go. So right now we're getting 20 FPS and we're definitely jumping quite a bit on the frame timer. I should have put up a graph, but let's see here. Ooh, yeah, this feels pretty clunky. But let's see what happens here. Let's follow the action. 23 FPS right now, hitting upwards of 60 milliseconds on the frame timer. CPU is not pegged, but so I guess there's that. Yeah, this is not very smooth. It doesn't feel good. But I'm going to play with it a bit just to see kind of what we get. I feel like it's going to be really hard to react. Oh. Oh. There you go, this way. Turn up some volume now. I just want to see an enemy at this point. It looks like we're capturing an objective. Ooh, getting shot at. Guess I saw someone up there. Oh, I cannot react to that guy. Can't tell what's going on. All right, I'm down. 22 frames per second, 15 on the 1% low right now, and 13 on the 0.1%. This is not a very good playable experience right now. Let's see if this guy can res me. All right, you got me. Oh my gosh. Really? As soon as that guy picks me up, I get taken down again. All right, here we go. 26 frames a second, not good. We're definitely gonna have to make some setting tweaks to make this playable. This is very bad. Probably have to go with some upscaling. Oh, jeez. I can't react. It's rough. All right, CPU doesn't seem to be, I haven't had my eyes directly on it the whole time, but it doesn't seem like we're being CPU bound anyway. It just seems like it's probably pretty darn tough to just run the game in general. All right, I'm in a tank now. Let's try this out. That way I don't have to worry about protecting myself as much. That's a gun. We're getting blown up. Time to exit, I feel like. Okay, this is a lot of heat. Can't see. Oh. I literally saw that guy as he shot me. Yeah, I just feel like I cannot play the game at all. All right, let's see. Can I make an in-game settings edit? I think we need to go down to... We need to go to, like, lowest preset, maybe. It's even kind of clunky, me clicking around in here. Oh, let's skip the low. Medium, low. Okay. All right, on the low preset, in a tank again. I think I'm on low. It's hard to really tell if it applied or not. Let's double check. Yeah, it's on low. Oh, the tank just blew up. Sweet. I'm gonna reset my benchmark counters here. Now that we've reset some settings. I don't know where that came from. I bet this game's pretty fun if you can play it well. Yeah. I feel like it just looks worse, but it isn't performing any better. In fact, it might be doing worse. I'm only getting like 18 frames a second now. Okay, that's a good guy, tank. Alright, get to a safe spot to maybe turn on the upscaling here. Let's see here. Graphics. I mean, I'm already on low. So I'll let it do auto there. I'm not going to mess with anything else. Does that do anything in the advanced? No, that's just what I set it for earlier. So what if I do this future frame rendering? Maybe that'll help. XESS for our upscaling technique. Let's go ultra performance. Okay. Are we going to get anything better than 20 frames a second? All right, restart it here. Oh, 30. 28. Although I'm in like a dark alley here. Yeah, looks like it's back to kind of where it was. This might be the better feeling settings. Oh boy. I should like not run out in the open like that. 21 frames a second right now. 1% low of 9. Let's restart it. Okay, so 26. Oh. Oh my gosh, I got a kill. Oh, there's another guy. Where'd he go? Come here. Boo! I have a bad system, man. Come on. I think the only way this is going to be playable is if I have maybe a motherboard that supports rebar. This ARC card is just not able to do it. We can lower the resolution, I guess, a bit and see if that helps us a little bit. Why don't we try that in our next little round of trying to figure this game out. All right, so let's just review what we've changed and played with. We started with balanced. Let's just review here real quick while this game's loading in. So in the advanced settings, we've tried different upscaling techniques. So we've got on ultra performance settings using the XESS upscaling technique. We've tried FSR, and that's the only two it's allowing us to use right now. Yeah, I think the only other thing here to really get back some performance is to lower the resolution itself, maybe? More or less, I'm looking for just a fluid gameplay. Yeah, 1280 by 720. Let's apply that. Yes, keep. Okay. Definitely can see the resolution change, and I'm getting quite a bit better FPS. Now we're up to 45 frames per second. This feels a lot more fluid. Just looks like crap. Let's see if I can improve the upscaling now a little bit. Graphics, advanced, instead of going for performance, ultra quality. Everything just kind of looks fuzzy. It'd be probably really hard to pick out an enemy from far away. Let's see what we got here. It's definitely way more playable. It still has a good bit of choppy feelness to it. At least a little bit more playable in terms of its fluidness. We're currently at 38 FPS. CPU is not pegged out though. So this card isn't enough to overrun the CPU, this 7th generation old i5. So we're definitely we're just not able to push the frames and quality with this type of card. I'd really be curious if it can do it with a motherboard that supports rebar, but they don't advertise that out front with their system requirements. So if you're really desperate and you don't have good hardware, but you really want to play Battlefield 6, I'd say your best opportunity is to lower the resolution. I've got it down to 760p right now. And it kind of works. And you can maybe even get somebody, like I just did. Yeah. Oh, here's someone. Uh-oh, too many of them. I'm gonna die. There's like 3 of them. All right, well, I think I've seen enough. Let's do a little recap here and finish off the video. Okay, I had to give it one more go. I think I found the optimal settings, and in graphics, advanced, using the upscaling technique XESS. On performance, it gives you a little bit of better quality look. If I go to ultra performance, it really looks bad, especially when you're on a lower resolution scale, which I was on 720p earlier just to try to make things playable. So I thought, let's see what it looks like on 1080p now that I kind of found the optimal settings. And it definitely cuts the frame rate down quite a bit, but it looks way better. So now I'm just in some vehicle that some dude's driving. I'm getting like 30-ish FPS. Right now hitting 27, 28. This guy's just getting stuck, but as far as my ability to see things, way better having that resolution back up, but it definitely has gotten a bit more of a choppy feel to it. But yeah, getting it beyond even 45 FPS is really not doable, and 100% not doable in 1080p, even though it looks the best. So yeah, this just is not a great combo for this game. So all right, now let's wrap it up. Alrighty, so that was fun. At least I guess I got my butt kicked in Battlefield 6, mainly because I couldn't really see the enemies half the time. But when I did, it was still really hard to succeed because this was just not a playable experience. Like I said, it'll run the game, it won't play the game. And when I think you definitely at least need a minimum of 60 FPS to really play the game and have somewhat of a good experience. We tried a lot of different options there in the graphics, and the best I could get was like around 40 to 45 FPS, and that wasn't super sustainable. So another 15 to 20 FPS would have helped, and maybe that's achievable with the Intel Arc card if you've got resizable bar, but that's very specific because you need to have a motherboard that supports that you can actually turn that feature on, which Battlefield 6 doesn't call out. They just say, hey, you can use an Intel Arc A380, a 6GB VRAM card, which I already have my doubts because of that, and a 7th generation old Intel processor. So if anything, we proved out that don't go out and build this type of PC because yeah, you're just not going to be very happy with it. Now, can you upgrade this PC to get it going? Yeah, absolutely, but then you're spending more money, and I would not build into this platform because even if we put the i7 generation CPU, the CPU actually wasn't the problem anyway, but we needed more GPU, which would then eventually probably overrun the CPU anyway. So you're talking about like a whole rebuild anyway. So again, This is for the sake of science, meaning seeing what the minimum spec requirements can do, and they can't do a whole lot. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this type of video, make sure you obviously get subscribed for more content coming at you. I am interested in doing these minimum spec builds. I just noticed Black Ops 7 has just come out, and their minimum specs, they are way worse than this, which I find even crazier. So I almost want to give that a shot and just see what that's all about. But let me know what you guys think about this build. Should I do anything more with it? Obviously, I'm very limited. I don't have much power supply left to actually kind of go for anything that is of higher power demand. So I think I'm pretty much just going to tear it down and part it out. I got to get my GPU back to the rifle owner because it's not my GPU actually anyway. So let me know in the comments what you guys think I should do next. I am, like I said, very curious about a Black Ops 7 minimum specs build as well. If you stuck with me this long, then thanks for tuning into this one though. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.